Hi, this is Ann with Finance on the Offense, and today I'm going to talk about stock splits and reverse stock splits, what they are and why they happen. All right, let's get started. Okay, so I've had both of these types of stock splits happen to me with shares that I was holding. With a regular stock split, let's say you have two shares and they're each worth $100, so $200 total. And then the stock does a 2-for-1 split. So after that goes through, you'll have 4 shares, each at $50, which still equals $200. So what's the point? Stock splits happen when a company decides to divide the stock that it owns into multiple new shares. And they do this to increase the liquidity, or basically allow people who usually couldn't afford the stock to be able to buy it. The total dollar value of what you own doesn't change if you hold the stock already, but you end up with twice the number of shares at half the cost per share. Regular stock splits tend to happen when a company is doing really well. Back in 2014, Apple stock had a 7-to-1 split. So if you owned any Apple stock back then, you would end up with 7 times the number of shares, but each share would be worth less, 1/7 of what it used to be. So let's say the stock was at $70 a share. Apple is worried that some people who might want to buy Apple can't afford that $70 price tag to afford just one share. So they did this 7-to-1 split, and now the price is $10 each, and those people can all now buy a share of Apple stock if they want to. What they're buying is 1/7 of the value it used to be before the split, but they're also paying 1/7 of the price. Splitting the stock just allows more people to be able to buy the shares. Most companies will decide to split their stock shares when that stock price is getting a little too high for the average investor. And usually this is a good thing. In my experience, when I was holding a few shares of stock and they went through a stock split, the company continued to do well after the stock split. So in the next few months, the share price kept rising and rising. Now, of course, it doesn't have to happen that way. A few bad headlines can really make a stock tank. There's one famous company that has never split its stock, and that's Berkshire Hathaway. That might be familiar because it's Warren Buffett's company, and he will not allow a stock split. So the price of one share of Berkshire Hathaway is over $430,000. So basically, if I want to invest in Berkshire Hathaway, that stock class, I have to come up with $430,000. But there are alternatives. There's something called Berkshire Hathaway shares Class B. The original one I was talking about was Class A. And the price per share of the Class B is only $280. So let's talk about reverse splits. As you may have guessed, they're kind of the opposite of a regular split. Basically, a company decides to take all their existing shares and consolidate them into fewer, more expensive shares. But again, if you happen to hold these shares before the reverse split, the value of them would still be the same. You'd have fewer shares, but they'd be worth more. The reason a company might do this is because their share price might have been falling for a long time, and maybe it's getting down really low, like 50 cents a share. And there are a couple things that might happen. One, retail investors might see this low price and say, well, I don't want that stock. It looks like they're going to go into bankruptcy or something. Or two, it could get delisted from a stock exchange if it gets too low. A reverse split can be a sign that a company is not doing well, might be facing bankruptcy at some point, or just is in trouble in general. So a reverse split is usually seen as kind of a bad thing for investors. So let's say a company wants to do a 1-to-2 reverse split, meaning for every 2 shares, you now have 1, but that 1 is worth double the original price. So let's say you had 4 shares worth $100 each, and after a reverse split, you have 2 shares worth $200 each. It all seems fine, right? But usually after a reverse split, the stock will continue to fall because it's a sign that the company is in trouble. So what happens if there's a 1-to-2 reverse split on a stock that you own, except you only own 1 share? Well, since you can't actually own a half a share, basically you'll be cashed out. In the same example where your 1 share is worth $100, that $100 is deposited into your stock market account, and you would no longer own that share of stock. Basically, they kick you out and sell your stock for you, even if you didn't necessarily want to sell at the price they kick you out at. As I said a minute ago, This is usually a sign of a company in distress. So if your stock is automatically sold at a low price, of course that's not a good thing for you, especially if you wanted to hold and see if they could recover. Investors generally know that a reverse stock split is bad news, so they all start selling like crazy when they hear about it. And that causes the stock price to fall even lower. So that is stock splits and reverse stock splits in a nutshell. Alright, if you like this video, just click on the like button, and I'll see you next week with another Finance on the Offensive video. Thank you!